And if you needed more proof that the Shade Room was in bed with the Potter's house, check this out. And remember, in part 2, we actually discussed The Same Room. The Same Room happens to be a podcast and a blog ran by The Shade Room. And while checking out the LLC, we can see that Stephanie Ike is one of the parent owners of The Same Room. So if you ask me, the church is running The Shade Room.
The Shade Room founder and the host of The Same Room as well. And so I wanted to give you the floor, let you set the record straight.
So that was the only time I met TD
Can you tell me a bit more in terms of just some of the tension that it's been for you since becoming a Christian?
You know, I'm just keep it real. I'm just tell the truth. I called her and I was like, I'm about to shut it down. I want to shut the Shade Room down.
Ruslan.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we got a special guest. Her name is Angie. Some of you guys may be familiar with her work. All right. And here's the deal. We don't always get it right here. Sometimes you guys recommend videos and we just react to them. And sometimes the people that the videos are about are gracious enough to reach out and set the record straight. All right. And so that is what we're going to open the stream with. We have a guest who is calling in, and she is an entrepreneur. She's a woman of God. She's a podcaster, and she needed to set the record straight about a video that we did that we have since unlisted and taken down. And so without any further ado, we have the one, the only Angie from the Shade Room founder and the host of The Same Room as well. How are you doing, sis? Thank you so much for calling in and making this happen.
I'm good. How are you?
Okay, so we interacted. We did a video reacting to a lady that made
some interesting accusations that TD Jakes was behind the scenes, pulling the strings on all things, that rhymes, all things Shade Room.
You hit me up and you were like, this is cap, this is nonsense. And so I wanted to give you the floor, let you set the record straight.
I mean, I told you I wasn't really, tripping over it because at the end of the day, I know how sometimes you can get things wrong, right? And it was trending and everybody was, but at first I didn't think people really believed it. I'm like, that's such a far out thing. Like, why would TD Jakes own the Shade Room? Like, that doesn't make any sense.
And you've never really worked with him like that. You've only met him once, right? Or once or twice?
So I met him back, I want to say, I might get the year wrong. It was 2015 or 2016. He used to have a show. It was whenever he had that show. And his people reached out to me to be a guest on the show. And I came on the show because I think at that time they were talking about entrepreneurship. And I had just started the Shade Room 2 years earlier. So that was the only time I met TD Jakes. I've never talked to him after that or had a relationship with him.
What do you make sense of people like piecing all this together and doing, this
recognizance work where they go to the nooks and crannies of people's LinkedIn pages and connect that they're connected to you?
What do you make of all of that?
I mean, she did tic-tac-toe to put it together. You know what I mean? Like, it was tic-tac-toe journalism. But I definitely could see why people were believing the theory that she had, right? So basically, I started a podcast with Stephanie Ike, who's a pastor. This is before she was in her role right now that she's in at one church. So I met Stephanie Ike a long time ago. We've actually been friends for 9 years on Facebook. We're both Nigerian, and we have a lot of family in common, to the point where when I went to her wedding, I'm like, are you my cousin? Because all my family was at her wedding, right? So me and Stephanie, we connected a long time ago, and we connected at a time when I had already started the Shade Room, and I was looking for pastors to step into the Shade Room because at that time I had started to develop a belief in Jesus, right? And so I was really conflicted about what I was doing and my call to Jesus, and I was just like in a very bad place. So I reached out to a lot of pastors to step into the Shade Room to at least try to brighten up the Shade Room a little bit, like give some morning inspiration, talk about God on the Shade Room. And all the pastors declined. Nobody wanted to be associated. They were like, no, I can't, mess with the Shade Room or whatever. But Stephanie said, I'll do it. And I was like, okay, and from there, I began talking to her, telling her about my depression and what I was going through, like the pool, the spiritual warfare. And she was like a sister in my life, right? And she loved me and she really was there for me. And so it was that relationship that I said, okay, well, in my quest to want to do something more spiritual, I said, well, maybe we should start a podcast that kind of resembles our relationship. Like here I am, somebody who people would never think believed in Jesus, and you're a pastor. And so we were like, we need to start something where people like you and me, who are both believers, but are operating in different aspects of the world or are in different industries, can come together and have these great conversations. Because I was a new believer, so I would ask her all these wonderful questions that new believers would have. And then so she was always saved. I mean, she was saved since she was a young kid. You know what I mean? So we would just have very interesting conversations. And that's how the same room was birthed. It wasn't, I know I saw you guys said that the Potter's House invested into the same room. No, like that comes from our pockets. Like, you know what I mean? Obviously, I have the means to be able to invest in it. And Stephanie does too. So we actually fund that by ourselves. Like, that's not funded by a church or anything like that. We just wanted to, it was a passion project.
Can you tell me a bit more in terms of just some of the tension that it's been for you since becoming a Christian and still, launching the same room, which is like you're saying, we wanted to make it brighter. We wanted to show a different side of artists. You guys had a great interview with Chance the Rapper from a while ago. How is that tension now? You came to faith about 2015, 2016. Am I following the timeline correctly?
It was 2017.
2017, so a little bit later. So how is that tension now, and how are you dealing in terms of just mitigating how to walk through all of this publicly?
I'm just keep it real. I'm just tell the truth.
Our friends at Genucel Skincare have exciting news to celebrate in 2023.
Using Manscaped during my showers after workout has given me much more confidence.
And that's where Mudwater comes in.
True Classic has got your back.
All thanks to the sponsor of today's video, SayMine.com.
Established Titles is your opportunity to earn the title of Laird, or Lady. Subject to credit approval, rates range from 7.99% APR to 19.99% APR, included 0.50% auto pay discount.
If you don't want us to make ads with brands you don't care about, sign up for our online community for as little as $5 a month to keep us independent and ultimately answering to you as our boss. You get all sorts of benefits like daily replays of our after party streams, exclusive access to our Discord community, and early access to our podcast interviews, all starting for only $5 a month.
Back in 2017, when I did meet Stephanie, I called her and I was like, I'm about to shut it down. I want to shut the Shade Room down. I was like, because I didn't see how, I just thought that, a lot of Christians would tell me you're going to hell. I get that still to this day. Just the other day, actually, I had a Christian in my DMs telling me I was going to hell. You know what I mean? And so for me, I've always believed in God, but it was Jesus that I had, some issues really connecting to as a figure. And so I was never like atheist, even though I used to call myself atheist, but now I've educated myself. It wasn't atheism. It was that I believed in God, just not Jesus. You know what I mean? And so when I began to start believing in Jesus, one of the prayers that I've asked him just over everything of my life is, listen, my hands are open. And if you want to tear it down or take away anything that I have in my hands, take it away. Right. And so the rest is pretty much like a private journey of me realizing that there's something that's coming that I'm doing. Like the Shade Room is not always going to look like what it looks like now. I have a plan. I'm seeking God about it, but there's definitely going to be a change and a shift in what I'm doing. Definitely a pivot, right? But I'm just waiting on that instruction. I don't know if people know what it feels like to have something that is in your hands that is as influential as the Shade Room is, and want to know God. I'll tell you what it feels like. It feels like I'm driving a big truck with like all of this, like an 18-wheeler with all of this luggage in it, and I'm just driving on the freeway, and I'm like, when do I get off on the exit? When do I turn right? I'm just looking for specific instructions on what to do next, how to maneuver, how to pivot, how to change this thing, you know what I mean, or close it, whatever it is, you know what I mean, is where I'm at right now. And it's so funny that you said that, because I was fasting this week, because I'm like, I need to know now, you know, I need to know the answer. And sometimes I wonder, do you need the specific answer? Do you need the specific instruction, or do you just move without instruction? I don't know. So that's basically where I'm at right now.
And so it sounds like you're still processing this in your prayer time and with counsel right now in terms of how to figure all this out. I love the same room. I love, like, when I've discovered that, like, oh, wait a minute, the shade room got the same room. This is cool. Like, this is such a breath of fresh air. Do you feel like
shade room? It's not the shade room. It's me and Stephanie. Right. You know what I mean? It's like the shade room doesn't, like, they're two different entities. You know?
Right. I understand that. But are you the sole founder of the shade room, or are there other partners and stuff involved?
No, I'm the sole founder. So I did take investment money from a man named Bryce Roberts. But I ended up paying him back. So now he owns 0.7% and I own 99%.
Oh, snap.
Yeah, it's owned by me. So
yeah, have you felt like you are able to leverage the shade room at times? I don't keep up with a lot of it. I just kind of maybe see it on my Explorer page at times, but to maybe like platform Christians and to highlight different, like, I don't know, more, I guess, wholesome, positive stories. This isn't a gotcha question. I genuinely don't know. Like, a Lecrae album is coming out, or like Kirk is doing something cool, or Maverick is doing something cool. Have you guys been able to kind of try some of that on the shade room to see if it works with the audience at all?
Yeah, I mean, slowly. So, you know, our most commented post in the history of the shade room, and mind you, we report on everything, right? So our most commented post was a post we posted. It was Easter, and we said, if you believe in Jesus, like, you know, comment. So that post got almost 200,000 comments. You know what I mean?
Wow.
We do post a lot about God. We do post a lot, like, for instance, the Beyonce situation with Tiffany Montgomery, and, you know, a lot of times we'll have these conversations on the platform, right? And it's interesting because, you know, we're able to tell both sides. We're able to, you know, Michelle Williams, when she came out and talked about it, you know what I mean? So we definitely discussed Damar Hamlin when he had that jacket on that people were saying was blasphemous. We discussed it. But not just that, I think that there's other things that people don't see. Like, a lot of our profit goes back to the community. Like, we have scholarship endowments at 3 universities, you know what I mean? And we're continuing to do more. We give to transitional housing programs. We elevate Black businesses and give them, you know, a discounted rate, and over 400 Black businesses have been able to start because of the shade room, right? And that advertisement. We do elevate Black talent, although, you know, some people may say, oh, it's messy. I can't deny that there is some mess on the shade room, but there's a lot of Black artists that wouldn't even be able to get seen on a mainstream level if it wasn't for the shade room, because there are a lot of mainstream sites with the influence that we have that would report on them, right? And so that's where you get your Jada Wadas and your Aries who would never be able to get to the level that they are if it wasn't for platforms like the shade room. And not just that, the barrier to entry has been lowered. More sites, Black-owned media companies, have been able to be created because of the shade room's blueprint, right? And so it's like there's a lot that operates in the back end that people don't see.
Yeah.
But there is a lot of stuff that, you know, I do question, and I'm like, well, you know, what is this? What is all this? And so, you know, I'm just in that space right now. So y'all should pray for me then. Y'all should pray for me. For real, because I need prayer. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, I actually watch a lot of your content, and you know, one of the things that I will say is that a lot of times there needs to just be more grace for people who are in a process. You know what I mean? Because I think that for me, I feel like for me, I've always felt extremely judged by the Christian community. Because they'll send you to hell in 2 seconds. You know what I mean? In a heartbeat. Like, literally, they'll just say, you're going to hell, you're evil, you're horrible. Yeah. And they don't know how, like, you're on your knees every night praying to God to really reveal, to lead you, to guide you. You know, how you're in a process of just coming closer to Him and just really understanding how to discern His voice. And for me in this moment, yes, I've made a lot of money off of the shade room. You know, I'm obviously in a position where I have a lot of wealth, but I've come to a place in my life where the wealth, the houses, whatever I have, it feels empty. You know what I mean? You could buy a house and it could feel like a box. a bigger buy.
Wow.
You could buy a car and you'll want another one the next day. It's insatiable, right? And so for me, money, homes, wealth, success has become so empty that I already have had it. I tasted it, and I know that it does not fulfill the soul, right?
Wow.
So I'm at this place in my life where I'm like, God, Jesus, only you can fulfill the soul, and I need you more than ever, and I'm willing to trade in whatever I have for you. You know, I want direction because it's such a big decision. And I just want to hear, like, if I could hear, I tell God all the time, like, if I could hear what the next move is, I'm doing it. I'll do it tonight.
Yeah.
You know, whatever you say, you know, so.
How about that?
That's great.
That was awesome, dude.
Shade Room got clout, son.
Yo, I'm not hip, but the Shade Room got clout.
Yo, I don't know what I was thinking, to be honest.
That was dope, man.
I went to the Instagram page and I was like,
how many followers they got? They got like millions, right?
Guess.
10 million. How many? More?
More.
Wow.
27.8 million, son.
27?
So
that's big. That's
she's
like
they out here popping with the ad.
You know, she's self-aware. She knows exactly where she's at. She's being transparent. She's being vulnerable. She's trying to hear from the Lord. I mean, I think you got to let people rock their process.
Man,
you know?
Man. You're like, have you considered maybe just like, Lecrae's got a new album. Ruslan posted a video.
We got a new video, Ruslan. You can post this if you want.
I mean, hey, like
you can tag. We do a joint post.
We can do it.
Hey, this clip is from our daily after party stream. If you enjoyed it, consider signing up for our Patreon community for only $5 a month, where you get access to the replays of our daily after party streams, as well as the uncut extended versions of our podcast, Discord access that's private, and a discount code for our merch store, only $5 a month. And ultimately, it's the best way to help us contextualize the gospel of Jesus using media, podcasting, and of course, YouTube. The link for that is in the description or in the pinned comment. Now, if you're like, meh, I don't want to sign up for $5 a month. I don't need another recurring subscription. Listen, I get it. You could also make a donation using PayPal, Cash App, or Venmo. But we really want to get you on Patreon. I promise you, the perks are amazing. You should get on there. It's only $5 a month. I'll see you over there, all right? Peace.